بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نبتدي. طيب I was planning today to discuss because we talked last session on immunization and vaccination and so on. So I was planning to start to discuss different diseases, coronary heart disease, management of diabetes, and the use of antibiotic as a medication. But I'd like to finish first the transportation implant. So we'll take the transportation plan. It is an easy session and explanation is less, but it has a practical that is representing a difficulty to you in the exam. I will try to make it easy and everyone will pass this part easily, inshallah. So we'll start to talk about some basics. We will go back to review the diffusion and osmosis. And we have to identify the transport system in the plant, the xylem and phloem, and understand what is the transpiration and the translocation, and understand what is the rate of factor affecting transpiration, what is the advantage, disadvantage of transpiration process, and then we investigate different factors that are affecting the rate of transpiration. So we'll start rapidly. As you remember, if you could remember this from the session of movement in and out of the cell. So in unicellular organism, the unicellular organism presented by this is Q is that we discussed that the rate of diffusion depending on the surface area to volume ratio. So the smaller the surface, the smaller the organism, the more the surface area to volume ratio. And we explain this if you can review the session or video for movement in and out of the cell. So factors that affecting diffusion, we take that is the decrease the distance, يعني thin wall cell, one cell thick wall, this decrease the distance and diffusion will be maximized. And large surface area to volume ratio, if you have a large surface area to volume ratio, then diffusion will be the best. And concentration gradient, of course, will affect diffusion. So multicellular organisms, they don't have. The unicellular organisms, they have all of these factors that are in favor of diffusion. But multicellular organisms don't have. So they have smaller surface area to volume ratio and making diffusion alone is inefficient. And they have a specialized area in their body instead. So how the different substances will be moving in and out of the cell? So they have specialized area, some modification in some cell that making them a specialized cell to act a special function. So they are like in lungs we get oxygen from the body cell, and the digestive system we get food for the body cell, and so on. So we have here the alveoli. The wall is thin and has a large surface area to volume ratio. So this system is specialized for gas exchange, and another system is specialized for absorption of the material. And then they have a system, circulatory system, to connect between all of this. But plant has something called transportation system. Osmosis, rapidly osmosis dependent on the water potential and how free the water molecule are moving. ازاي الميه بتتحرك من مكان لمكان through semi-permeable membrane or a partial permeable membrane, and it moves from the area of higher water potential to the area of lower water potential. And in case of osmosis, it is a net movement of water across a semi-partially permeable membrane from a solution or area of higher water potential to area of lower water potential. Remember this. The more concentrated the solution is, the solution containing solutes, more concentrated solution has less water potential, and pure water has the highest water potential. In plant root, water move from the soil to root hair cell by osmosis, and the mineral move by active transport that require energy. Remember, this is very important. Movement of water in root hair cell is by osmosis, because the water potential in the soil is more than inside the root, so it moves by osmosis. But minerals, their concentration inside the root is more than the soil, so they have to be absorbed by the active transport. Okay, transport vessels in the plant, they are xylem vessels and phloem vessels. The xylem vessels which is carrying the water and the minerals from the roots to the leaves in one direction only. But phloem vessels carry food material. يعني انت عندك مصنع هنا في الليف زي ما خدنا قبل كده وشرحنا ان المصنع ده بيبقى عايز مواد خام اللي هي الووتر اند مينرالز، وبعدين بيحصل عمليه الفوتوسينثيسيس، وبعد كده الفوتوسينثيسيس بيطلع برودكتس دي عباره عن شوجرز. فالبرودكتس دي محتاج انها تتنقل ل different part of the plant as nutrient. So it will go to different parts of the plant in different directions through the plant. The vessels that are transporting water and mineral from the root to the leaf, they are the xylem vessels. And the vessels which are transporting the product of this factory to different parts of the plant in different directions are phloem. So we can understand like this, that xylem has a unidirectional from root to leaf, but phloem has many direction up and down because phloem have to supply nutrients to different parts of the plant according to the time of the year and according to the needs of each part of the plant. They are arranged in groups. We are calling them as a vascular bundle. So this diagram is very very common in your exam. So sometimes they are bringing the diagram cross-sectional like this, cross-section in the leaf and cross-section in the root, and they are telling that mention the name of this, what is this, or what is this, and so on. So if we are talking about the leaf, we have xylem and phloem. You have to check one of them. So the outside part, in case of the leaf, this is the phloem, and the inside part is the xylem. Just memorize this. And في حالة الروot inside part is the xylem and the outside part is phloem. Just inside part is xylem and the outside part is this picture will remind you in the exam if you just remember this picture. In case of leaf, this is a vascular bundle, and you found that xylem is towards the upper surface and the phloem towards the under surface, and so on. Xylem is upper and the phloem is down. So if you are getting this picture, remember that this blue color and yellow color. Blue color is the xylem, it is the upper towards the upper surface of the leaves, and this phloem is towards the lower part of the leaf. And remember that layers of the leaf, as we take before, cuticle, this waxy layer to protect and to minimize loss of water, and the upper epidermis, lower epidermis, and the cuticle hair, and two layers, palisade mesophyll layer containing a chloroplast for photosynthesis, and this spongy mesophyll layer. This is an irregularly arranged cells that interrupted by air spaces. This air spaces helps the diffusion of water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen through it. And here is the stomata, and the stomata are surrounded by guard cell that control the opening of this stomata. Remember this because we will go back for this picture later on. So if you are asked to identify the xylem or phloem in the diagram showing a cross section of the stem, just remember that xylem is always on the inside and phloem is always on the outside. This is regarding the stem. So we take the stem here, xylem is inside, and phloem is always on the outside. Xylem is inside and phloem is outside. Okay, xylem is inside and phloem is always outside. So I'll go back for this. Here is in the leaves, xylem is inside and phloem is outside. In the root, xylem is inside and phloem is outside. Okay, just remember this. So transport in the phloem goes in many different directions depending on the stage of development of the plant and the time of the year. How this will affect the direction of fluid movement inside the phloem. Dissolved the dissolved food is always transported in the form of sucrose, which is made the dissolved water is always transported from source which it's made, and then going to sink. Just in order to understand how to define the direction of flow in the phloem, it depends on the stage of development of the plant. Means that some stages in the plant development, the plant has no leaf and only have a stem. Some part of the year, like spring, the plant have leaves, and these leaves are actively doing photosynthesis. So according to the part of the year and the stage of development of them, some plants are young, some plants are old. So according to the degree of growth and development of this plant, that this will decide where is the source and where is the sink. Always think about the direction of flow in the phloem as there is a source and sink, and don't memorize, just understand, because in the exam they will give you something new, so you have to decide. So fluid are current in the phloem mainly composed of sucrose, either used immediately or stored. And this is the second rule that we have to understand today, that if the plant needs this sucrose for production of energy or anything, so or different metabolic process, it will use immediately. Or if no need for this sucrose, so it will be stored. If the plant is actively growing, so the plant will use the sucrose. If the plant is not actively growing and is dormant or sleeping, is no growth, then this excess sucrose will be stored, especially in the roots. So we'll understand this during winter. When many plants have no leaves, the phloem tube may transport the dissolved sucrose and amino acids from the storage organ. As in winter there is no leaves, so the photosynthesis is less. So the plant needs energy. So it will transport sucrose and amino acids from the storage organ to the other part of the plant. So that respiration can continue. So production of energy, respiration, production can continue. The storage here may be the roots. So the source here is the roots, and the sink is a different part of the gland that need to do respiration. So the source, the movement of phloem now will be from the root to different part of the gland. In case of during the growth period and during the spring, where is the plant start to make new leaves, the storage organ, e.g. roots, would be the source, and the many growing area of the plant will be the sinks. So during the growth period and during the spring, the storage organ will be the source, and the growing area of the plant will be the sink. They need this nutrients for doing respiration. After the plant has grown, usually during the summer, the leaves are photosynthesizing and producing large quantity of sugar. So leaves are becoming the source, leaving now are becoming the source, and the roots become the sink. يبقى always think دايما نفكر في اتجاه الفلويد movement inside the phloem according to في صورة source مصدر and sink means that where the fluid is going. So in case of spring and when the plant or winter time, the plant has no leaves, so no photosynthesis, so the source will be the stored sucrose or stored starch in the roots, and the sink will be different part of the plant, especially when the plant starts to make new leaves. During summertime, where the leaves are more, so photosynthesis starts, and it will produce large quantity of sugar. So the leaves now is the source, and if the sugar are in excess of the need of the plant, they will go and be stored in the root. So the root will be the sink now. So the root will store sucrose, excess sucrose that's not needed now as a starch until it's needed again. So xylem movement of xylem will only take one place in one direction. Only takes place in one direction from root to leaf, unlike phloem. يعني اتجاه movement of fluid, water and the mineral in case of xylem is only one direction from root to leaves. Water travel up the xylem from root into the leaves of the plant and replace water that have been lost by transpiration. Transpiration is the water loss from the plant through leaves. So in order to replace this water, the loss of water, and maintain water stream inside the xylem, the water have to be absorbed from root and travel along the xylem to replace this water loss by transpiration in leaves. Water molecules are attached. Why the water is making a continuous column? Because the water molecule are attached together by what we are calling a hydrogen bond in chemistry. فبتعمل continuous column of water up the plant. The water evaporate from the leaves of the plant, creating a transpiration stream. This transpiration stream is very important to maintain this water column, so there will be a continuous column of water along the xylem from root to leaves. Okay, so this diagram is showing that water is absorbed here and is going to the xylem vessels and going up from the root to the leaves, and the transpiration here, loss of water through the leaves here, is maintaining this water because the water have to be replaced, and the water molecules are attached by hydrogen bonds, so it will make a continuous column of water. This will come in the form of, in the new exam, in the form of explain why the fluid is going in as one column, because the transpiration will lead to water loss from here. So this water loss will attract water coming in the xylem, as water molecules are attached together by hydrogen bond, so there will be a continuous column of water going from root to leaf. A substance called lignin is deposited in the cell wall, which causes the xylem cell to die. Xylem cell is not a living cell. It has no nucleus, no cell organelles, and almost it is non-living. And these cells become hollow and making a continuous tube, loss all cell organelles and cytoplasm and join end to end to form a continuous tube for water and mineral ions to travel through to leaves from the root. That's why how the xylem, if you are asking about what's the adaptation xylem, that this is the adaptation. That cell will lose cell organelles and cytoplasm, and the cell will attach to each other end by end and making a hollow tube through which the water and the mineral will travel from the roots to leaves. And in addition, a substance called the lignin is deposited in the cell wall, making them causing the xylem cell to die, and this xylem cell will become hard. Lignin strengthens the plant to help it to withstand the pressure of water movement. Lignin giving strength to the plant and helps the plant to stand up and resist the air current around in the environment around the plant. And in addition, it helps the xylem vessels to afford the pressure of the water movement, because water movement in xylem has pressure. Transpiration has a long definition, as you are seeing, and short definition. It is loss of water from plant. This is a short definition, but we need to make little bit some details. The transpiration about that loss of water from plant leaves by evaporation first of water at all surfaces of mesophyll cell. If you remember, the mesophyll cells that contain a regularly arranged cell and air spaces. So this mesophyll cell, through which a part of this transpiration process will happen, which is evaporation of water, and then there is a process of diffusion of water vapor through the stomata. So two-part transpiration include two parts: evaporation first, which is done in the mesophyll cell layer, and this followed by diffusion of water through the stomata. So how is the transpiration stream created? Water molecules are attached to each other by hydrogen bond, by cohesions, creating continuous column of water up the plant through xylem from root to leaves, as we agreed 1 minute back. Transpiration produces tension when the when the water will be lost through leaves. This loss of water will make a tension or pulling force on the water in the xylem vessels by leaves to absorb more water from roots to leaves, calling for absorption of more water. And if the rate of transpiration from the leaves increases, water molecules are pulled up by the xylem vessels quicker. And transpiration also causes movement of the minerals along with water. Water is always movement of water is always accompanied by movement of minerals because minerals are the solids dissolved in water. So if the transpiration, the loss of water from the leaves is more, this will causing a pulling force on the water and the xylem vessels from the root to the leaves. So how does transpiration occur? First, there is evaporation. Evaporation takes place on the surface in the spongy mesophyll cell layer of the leaf. A spongy mesophyll cell layer in the leaves. If we can going back, we'll see now this layer where there is air space. Spongy mesophyll layer. This palisade mesophyll layer for photosynthesis. This spongy mesophyll layer, what's the benefit of this spongy mesophyll layer? It contains air spaces that help the evaporation of water in the process called transpiration. Okay. Okay, so a large surface area provided by many interconnecting air spaces between the mesophyll cell will help cell. How is this palisade mesophyll cell are adapted for this, as there is a large surface area in the air spaces in this mesophyll cell. This will help the evaporation. Evaporation can happen rapidly when stomata are open. If the stomata is open, of course, evaporation will be fast. If the stomata is closed, and we'll see after a while how the stomata is opened and closed, so evaporation will be less. Transpiration has several functions in the plant. Transpiration, what's the function of the transpiration? The function of the transpiration, in the exam they are telling it till 2 or 3, so try to remember, it's very easy. That the supply will help to supply water for leaf cell to carry out photosynthesis. How? Because loss of water will causing a pulling force on the water in the xylem, so the water will move rapidly as the water molecule are attached together by cohesion or by hydrogen bond. Along with water, mineral ions will be, as it dissolved in water, it will be supplied also to different parts of the plant through xylem. And it provides, this water help to keep the plant cell turgid because it creates a higher water potential, and this water potential will be more than inside the plant cell. So the water will diffuse inside the plant cell by osmosis, and this will cause the cell to be turgid because the cell will not burst because of the presence of cell wall. Do you remember this? Presence of cell wall. So the water will be kept inside the cell. This turgid pressure, or when the cell become turgid, this helps the plant to stand up in the environment. Uh, uh, Transpiration allows evaporation from the leaf surface, which cools the leaf. This evaporation will decrease the temperature of the leaf and the plant as a whole in a similar way that sweet cooling is a human skin. Basically, it helps the transportation of the mineral and water will help to keep the cell turgid in order to support the structure of the plant. We will remember 4 words only: that it helps to supply water, help to supply water to leaf to help photosynthesis, help to supply mineral along those water, help to keep the cell turgid, and we explained that because of increased water potential outside the cell, this allow water to move inside the cell, and the cell wall of the plant will keep this water inside, helping the cell, helping the turgid pressure inside the cell to be high, and this will give strength to the plant to stand up in the environment. In addition, transpiration will this evaporation will cause loss of energy and loss of heat, and this cool the leaf like sweet. What sweet are doing in cooling is a human skin. Okay, like keeping the leaves cool. Why? How is the transpiration will cause cooling of the leaves? Through the conversion of the water into water vapor, because as we discussed, that water will be converted into water vapor as it leaves the cell and enters the air spaces, require heat energy. This loss of heat energy, using up energy to convert water into water vapor, help to cool the plant down. The conversion of water from one form, the liquid form, into gas form, which is the water vapor. تحويله من الليكويد فورم الصورة السائلة إلى الصورة الغازية الوتر فيبر. this will cause loss, will require energy. This loss of energy will cool down the plant. Okay. Stomata, where the water will be lost to the surrounding environment, is controlled by the guard cell, which change shape to control this guard cell in continuous changing of its shape to control opening of the stomata. That it will open if it is turgid, يعني swollen, turgid. If the guard cell is swollen with water, then it will open. And when it is flaccid, يعني lost its content of water, so not swollen, it will close. Close of the stomata at night time help to decrease loss of water from the plant, especially large one. Suppose that, do you imagine that if this transpiration is continued during the night time, so the plant will lose its water. This will not be good. And so closing the stomata at night time, almost all stomata are closed at the night time, so it will decrease loss of water from the plant, especially large plants. Comparing advantage and disadvantage of transpiration in one word, if you are asked to mention the advantage of transpiration, we told you the benefit that it cools the plant down. In addition, it will supply water needed for photosynthesis, it supply minerals along with water, and it will keep the turgid, the cell keep the cell turgid. Disadvantage, excessive water loss. If transpiration is more, there will be excessive water loss and maybe a shortage of water, and the plant will wilt if there is no enough supply from the soil through the xylem vessels. Okay. Okay. Factor affecting the transpiration. What are the factors affecting transpiration? We have 4 factors: light, temperature, wind, and humidity. And in the exam, mostly the question will come on this, and the question will come in the form of giving the graph and asking you to interpret, and testing your skills, how you are understanding the graph, or giving you a table data or a data in table, and asking you to understand and interpret, and then he will ask you to explain why the light is affecting transpiration, how the light is affecting transpiration, how the temperature is affecting transpiration, how wind is affecting, and so on. So let's take one by one. Light affecting transpiration, increasing manner. So there is a directly proportional relationship between light and the rate of transpiration. So why? Because the stomata opened wider to allow more carbon dioxide. If you are putting light, the rate of photosynthesis will increase in the leaves. So this photosynthesis needs carbon dioxide. So there will be stomata will open to introduce more carbon dioxide to fulfill the increase in the rate of the photosynthesis. So accordingly, if you are giving stomata, as we agreed before, that stomata is open, there will be more loss of water, and so on. So transpiration rate will be more. Type temperature, evaporation, and diffusion. Temperature, if the temperature is high, the transpiration will be faster. But this is with a limit. There is a limit for this. It is not for forever. And if you are increasing temperature forever, the transpiration will be forever. No, there is a limiting factors here. So evaporation and diffusion are faster at higher temperature, but within limits. And wind, transpiration is faster with windy condition, because if there is a wind around the plant in the environment, it will remove the water vapor, and it will move quickly by air movement, and this will it have to be replaced by another water from inside the plant, so the rate of transpiration will be more. Humidity is inversely the only factor that inversely related to transpiration rate. So transpiration is lower if the humid condition, the humidity is high. Humidity is high, transpiration is slow. So diffusion of water vapor out, because humidity is high, it means that there is more water potential in the air around the plant, and it will be if this water potential is more than the water potential in the leaves, so there will be no transpiration. So the curve of these 4 factors we will take after some time. How to investigate this? Investigation is easy. So you are cutting a shot, and you are cutting it underwater, just to prevent the air from entering the xylem, not to interrupt the flow of water in the xylem by introducing air inside. So cut it underwater, and the apparatus called, we'll take here this called This apparatus is called the botometer. Botometer. You are seeing here. Remember this name. Botometer is this famous name in for this experiment. This botometer function, or we are using to measure the rate of transpiration. The aim of this investigation is to measure the rate of transpiration. Uh, what are the equipment? We need a chute, and this chute is cut underwater, and we are putting in apparatus like this underwater, and sealing, closing this tube by putting the cotton wool and Vaseline to prevent introduction of any air. And we are drying the leaves. We are drying the leaves because if the leaves are wet, it will affect the rate of transpiration. And connecting this water to a capillary tube to another flask, whose keep the capillary tube underwater. And we are this tap and are open to supply water if the water become less. That's all. This is acting as a reservoir of water and the tap. And here is a ruler scale to measure. To measure what? First of all, we are introducing air inside the capillary tube, one bubble of air like this. And then put this capillary tube underwater and seal this tube. This records the level or the distance or the place of this air bubble. And then apply the factors that you are needing to study, either light, either air current, or temperature, or it changes the humidity by changing the warmer air. Humidity is a factor that you have, but only test one factor at a time. Don't test only change one variable. And what we are measuring the rate of transpiration. How to measure the rate of transpiration? By measuring the distance moved by this air bubble in time units, and we'll see after a while. So only test one variable each time and make the other variable more or less constant. Okay, and we are measuring the rate of transpiration. Some are, sometimes it will come in your exam, they are telling that they are measuring the loss of water. So this glass or tube will be metered, and the loss of water, from the loss of water in a special time, you can calculate the rate of transpiration. Otherwise, the common in this botometer is there is air bubble, and the movement of this air bubble means that, of course, the plant here, the principle that the plant here will absorb water, and this water bubble will move in this direction. So movement in this direction, after 5 minutes or 10 minutes accordingly, this movement in centimeter will be divided by the time, 10 or 5 minutes, and then you can calculate the rate of transpiration. If in the exam they are giving you the amount of water lost here by volume or by distance moved by the water column here, divide this volume by time or divide this distance moved by time, you will get the rate of transpiration. All experiments make a table and record how to make that your experiment is valid. Your experiment is valid if you can repeat it, if you can reproduce it. Remember the practical skills. Repeat it, reduce it. Repeat it. You can repeat. You can repeat the experiment and changing the light intensity here and recording all measured in your table. If you can repeat, so your experiment is valid. If you are controlling other variables, your experiment will be valid. If you are calculating the mean, your experiment is valid. If you can reproduce the experiment and making the experiment by another person, or making the experiment using another equipment, and you are getting similar results, so your test or experiment is rapid. So the environmental factor can be investigated by using the botometer as temperature, changing the temperature and records the movement of the air bubble in the botometer over time. You can calculate the rate. Humidity is pre-water in plastic bag and wrap around the plant. This is how to test humidity. How to test humidity? Distance of fan to plant and different speed of fan. Put the fan to the plant at a distance from the plant, and then different speed of fan to change the different speed of wind. Light intensity distance lamp distance of lamp of to plant. But here, remember, there is a special situation here because the light intensity is inversely proportional to the squared distance. Remember this we take before. I think in light affecting um, and the movement in and out the cell. So light intensity is inversely related to the squared distance and not distance. So remember this. Only use one variable in one time, of course, and the other will be controlled, have to be fixed. This device is called the photometer, and every time we are calculating the transpiration rate, how? By calculating the speed of air bubble in the recorded time. يعني suppose that the air bubble moved 20 millimeter in 5 minutes, so transpiration rate will be 20 or 5. And don't forget, please don't forget the units. We are calculating distance over minute, the speed. So it will be millimeter according to millimeter over minute, okay? Diagram. The diagram sometimes the graph will come to you in the exam like this. So how to interpret this? Here is a what is this? Temperature is the variable that we are changing. So this is the independent variable. As we agreed before, this independent variable is always lying on the x-axis. And here is the dependent variable is standing up on the y-axis. This is the variable that we are measuring. We are measuring in this experiment, we are measuring the rate of transpiration, we are calculating it. This is a dependent variable and this is the independent variable. How to interpret? As the temperature increase, the rate of transpiration increase until certain limit where there will be no increase because the temperature, the warm air here mostly containing more water content. So at this area, the water content in the leaf is equal to the water content at this temperature. So there will be transpiration more or less the same. Light intensity, again, light intensity. This is the independent variable and the variable that we are changing. And this is the dependent variable, the variable that we are measuring. This is the x and y axis. So as light intensity is increasing, the rate of transpiration is increasing, but it is limited here. What's the relation between light intensity and the transpiration? As we explained that light intensity increase the rate of photosynthesis. The photosynthesis will increase and need more CO2. So the stomata will open to introduce CO2. But as you remember, the photosynthesis is affected by light, and the curve, the relation between the rate of photosynthesis and the rate of light and the light intensity is increasing and then limited by other limiting factors like CO2, like presence of water and so on. Okay, so there is a limited value. If you review it and going for the videos for explaining nutrition in plant or plant nutrition, you'll find the curve is like this, increasing and then become flat because here is limited by the limiting the photosynthesis. You understand it? اوكي كلير واضح يا جماعه. طيب الكيرف الثاني الهيوميديتي انفيرسلي ريتد. قلنا لو في كيرف طالع كده، لو في كيرف طالع لفوق كده، يبقى ده اسمه directly proportion. The relation between rate of transpiration and temperature directly proportion. But here the relation, there is no effect, the flat, because there is a limiting factors here. There is a limiting factors here. Here the curve is coming down. What's the meaning of this? Humidity is an independent variable. Rate of transpiration, which is a variable we are measuring, is the dependent variable. So the curve here was less humidity, so less water potential in the air around the plant, so transpiration will move because there is a difference in the water potential. As the air humidity increase, يعني the water content of the air around the plant will increase, so the water potential will be less and the transpiration rate will be less. So this is inversely related. If you are asked to explain the curve, why the curve is going down, or explain the curve from here and from here, here humidity, the water content and the water potential will be more, so transpiration rate will be this, and at this point the water potential will be less, and so the transpiration rate will be less. You always mention that the water potential and explain by water potential. Wind speed, here wind has no effect. Why the curve is starting here? Because here Wind has no effect on the rate of the transpiration, regular, neutral, nothing at all. So when the wind is increasing, the rate of transpiration increase, and then as the wind is increasing, removal of the water from the leaf will be more, and the rate of transpiration will be more. Thank you. I hope that you get أتمنى إن أنتم تكونوا فهمتوا الموضوع كويس جدا. نبتدي نحل عليه إن شاء الله في التوبيك questions. Goodbye and good luck and see you in the next session.